Hey everyone, welcome to Reverse Homesteading. It's a rainy day here in Melbourne, Victoria, Australia, and I've left the washing on the line. I didn't know it was going to rain, wasn't looking at the weather, but I thought I'd show you a couple of things that I'm going to do even though it's raining. This little dwarf nasturtium is kind of doing well. There are a couple of plants in there I think, but it's under the eaves so it doesn't get any rain directly, so I'm just going to take it off and put it on the balcony where I won't forget to put it back up, but where it will get some nice natural rain. Look how dry it is. I only gave it some water yesterday. This coir peat lets the water run through pretty quickly, so I might give it a little bit of water because I don't know how much longer the rain's going to go for. So, my goodness, it's so dry. Alright, I'll give it a bit of help to start with. Poor little thing. I often just grab a jug from inside that we use in the kitchen for my things on the front and back doorstep, because I often sort of think, oh, I'll have to water those, and then I forget the poor little things. But if I just grab something from the kitchen, I don't have to run all the way down those steep steps and back up again to get my watering can and then do it and then take it back again. I know that's a little thing, but sometimes I just snatch something out of the kitchen and the job is done. It had been raining for about an hour or so, probably a bit more, before I realised my little pea seeds were out of the greenhouse and they hadn't sprouted yet because I had no more room. So the old problem I've had this year, it's been rainier than usual, and yeah, it doesn't feel too soft. Feels like it's okay. You probably shouldn't poke your seeds before they come up, might damage the little roots. These ones seem okay. These are my winged beans. Yeah, I might tip the water out that's in the bottom there because that's obviously not helping, so I will take the water out, and what I'm going to do is put one of these on top and stop the extra rain. So it doesn't quite fit, but it'll cover the peas, and I'll keep the vents shut because it's not too hot today, and that'll just stop some of the rain. Might even put two on there so it definitely covers, because I do have two spare ones. I'll show you in a minute. Alright, Operation Pea Rescue is on its way. So anything that's a pea or a bean is under there. I've got green-faced peas and black-eyed peas and other things that were in the same lot of planting, and my cucumbers, and one of the pumpkins. It's a butternut pumpkin that I planted in the same lot. There's a rosella pot as well, and they will be fine, I think, in the rain. Not the ideal way of sowing things this time of the year, but I'm doing what I can to get things up quickly, so that will stop my legumes from getting too wet and rotting, which has been a problem when I've left them out in the open. We shall see, I'll report back. Decided to put one of my covers on my eggplants and chilies that aren't up yet. It'll be just fine until the sun comes out again, which probably won't happen today. I think this rain has set in, but that might give them a little bit more warmth today and tonight, because the weather is not as particularly warm. Going to give a couple of these chilies away, so better look after those as well. I thought I'd show you this. This is my middle bin. So this is the one that's not started yet for composting. This is the active one that I'm putting things into. This is the one I'm no longer putting things into, just watching the moisture content is right. Maybe adding some dry matter or some water to it. So that's the closest to going onto the garden. But this one has a domed lid. You can probably see it at that angle. So when you're opening these, be a little bit careful if they have a domed lid, because there will be some fermenting smells coming out of there, let's just say that, and it might come out with a rush, so just be careful when you're adding things to it. So as I thought, it really doesn't smell good, but it is doing its thing. It's not disgusting, it's just breaking down. So just make sure you wash your hands with warm soapy water, or whatever you usually use after you do this, but it's not too harmful. Just make sure that you take care whenever you touch your compost bin. So keep topping them up, don't forget. I sometimes reuse a plastic bag, so just to get this out here quickly. I don't like a lot of plastic in the garden, but that's what I've got today. That's a celery stalk that went a bit too old in the fridge. So I'll just give that a roll around and I'll be ready to keep going. It looks like it has enough moisture in there for now. So that's all nicely mixed in. We've rolled it around on the ground a few times, put it upside down and right side up, and yeah, it's all mixed and you didn't have to touch it with your hands. So the lid goes back on securely so the rats and possums don't get it. That's why I have things in bins like this. And yeah, it'll keep doing its thing. And remember, smaller pieces break down faster, so you're making your life a bit easier by a bit of foresight on the front end if you cut up your veggies and scraps a little bit smaller. I thought I'd show you the progress our lime tree is making. Tahitian lime, they're good for juicing. Some nice new growth there. I've only planted it probably about 3 weeks ago, just before I left for my outback trip. And yeah, it's doing really, really well. I'm thinking that right hand branch that's new might become the main stem if nothing else pops up, but it won't take much to get that in a more upright position. Just take this one a little bit to the left and it'll look like it was always that way. So you can move your plants around a little bit if they don't have a vertical stem that's obvious. So this is under a cover because of our possums, and Australian possums like to eat leaves of tasty plants, as well as rats. Maybe. Rats are more about fruit, I think. Possums love fruit as well, but possums like to eat leaves of passion fruit vines and lemon trees and that sort of thing. So we shall see. Our tangelo tree is doing really well. As I showed you before, it's got a flower or two on it. Three flowers, and new growth, and it's doing really well. It was planted the same time as the Tahitian lime. So I did mention the leaves that weren't great on here, but I think the deficiency is corrected now that I've put some manure, which is safer for planting fruit trees with than the usual things that people can get from the shops. The NPK style of, I was going to say fake, but they're not as good for your plants as the organic way, at least the way that I think of things. You can do whatever you like. So I'll just take off these lower leaves that were showing the deficiency, and it'll just look better. It'll make you feel better about the plant as well. And I'll make a bigger enclosure. I just put this around it when I first planted it because I thought, oh no, the possums raced out here at night and whacked something around it, but I'll put a better enclosure around it soon. The other thing I was going to do on this rainy day was to pollinate my Stella cherry. It might be too late because some of the flowers are dying off. There's only a certain amount of time that you have before the plant gives up on being pollinated, but we shall see how we go. Hubby was in a meeting, he works from home, and that's where my brushes are that I use to pollinate with. So I'll do that later on. I'll get that job done, even though it's a little bit wet. It's not too wet under this desert ash tree, so maybe we haven't missed the boat. We shall see. Hopefully the pollen hasn't all washed away. Here's our dwarf nasturtium. I have cut it back a little bit. Little dead bits and things that weren't doing so well. The sandy mix here is not great. I also have the trouble of the noisy miners and sometimes magpies stealing the coconut coir from around the edges for their nests, but that won't be a problem all year round. But I'm going to put this around like mulch, and it'll give it a bit more organic matter. Perhaps I should have put some mulch on it when I first put it out. Anyway, it will rot down, it'll give it some organic matter alongside whatever I give it next. I might even put some good compost on top. I just sort of put it in there. So much of what I'm doing now is just getting the garden going, so whatever soil medium I have at the time is what I've been using. But now it's just a matter of maintaining and keeping things healthy. So I hope you're having fun in your garden. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.